Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome into the Morning Five on Monday, October 20th, 2014. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by the People's Champ, Matt Baxendale. Bax, the line for the Ohio State at Penn State game this Saturday opened at 11.5 points yesterday, with the Buckeyes, of course, being the favorite. I thought that was extremely low. Voila, look at the point spread this morning. It's already moved 2 points to 13.5. That's a precipitous jump for just one day. I still don't think it's high enough, though. Ohio State is on a roll right now. It's a very pedestrian Penn State team. The Buckeyes are favored by just 8 points at Maryland, won that game by 28. Favored by 21 over Rutgers, won that one by 39. So while Penn State is a tough environment to play in at night, I expect the Buckeyes will win this one by 3 touchdowns or more. What are your thoughts, Bax?
Yeah, that line being 11 is like me grabbing my wallet and just throwing it at them. That's a crazy low line. Let's be very honest here. This is a Rutgers team that Ohio State just drilled by 39 points that played Penn State within a field goal and probably should have beaten them. This is a Rutgers team that played that school up north and actually beat them by 2. Rutgers and Penn State are very similar in terms of talent right now. And honestly, I think Ohio State's going to have very similar results against them. The Buckeyes beat Penn State last year by 49 freaking points. 2 years ago, when Penn State was much better and Ohio State was at a significantly lower level in terms of offensive talent and all the kinds of other things, the Buckeyes still won by, I believe, 11 or 12 points at Penn State. So that line opening at 11, when these teams are clearly moving the opposite directions from each other, is insane to me. That number's going to approach 20 by the end of the week.
By the way, for those that are wondering, Ohio State has a 14-7 record against Penn State since the Nittany Lions joined the Big Ten in 1993. If you're looking for a little bit of smack talk around the office, if you have a Penn State fan that works with you or a family member that's a Penn State fan, you want to keep it between the lines. You want to be politically correct but still talk some smack. 14-7, Buckeyes lead in the series since the Nittany Lions joined the Big Ten. And they thought they were going to join the Big Ten and dominate, not so much. In Ohio State's 56-17 win over Rutgers, unfortunately, senior defensive end Rashard Frazier and junior linebacker Devin Bogard went down with injuries. I'm hoping the injuries are not serious backs, but they did not look good. Bogard has suffered torn ACLs in each of the last 2 seasons. This one looked like a knee, too. You really have to feel for him, and Frazier, too. I mean, he's been playing a lot for the first time. Again, hopefully it's nothing serious with either of these 2 guys, and we will find out the status of both of them later today. We interview Urban Meyer. We will interview Coach Meyer around noon. Look for a story plus video on what he has to say. We'll get that posted to the site by 1. We will also interview defensive line coach Larry Johnson and wide receivers coach Zach Smith. So look for stories, videos, and bullets on what they have to say. Backs, hopefully Bogard, who has been a mainstay on the excellent kickoff coverage unit, and Frazier, who has been one of the fill-ins for Noah Spence, are fine, but it doesn't look good. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was heartbreaking to see Devin Bogard on the ground. I talked about this in the bucket yesterday. He's a kid who everybody who pays much attention to Ohio State knows. He suffered a couple bad knee injuries. 2 years ago, I was convinced he was going to be moving into a starting safety role by the end of his true freshman season because he was so good before he hurt his knee. And just seeing that kid down with his knee. Another ACL injury, I don't know if he's ever going to be on the field again in a Buckeye uniform. This is the type of thing, a third ACL injury, that ends careers. And you could see it on his face when they were he made the trainers help him off the field versus the cart come and get him. He literally waved at the sideline at one point telling him, don't bring the cart out. They walked him off the field to the cart. And then the entire team met him on the sideline. Not just special teams guys, but the defense, the offense. There was 30-something kids that met him. Everybody knew what happened. And it was awful. And this is a kid, by the way, who's one of the loyal 11. He's one of the ones who stood by Ohio State during the 2011 crisis year. He actually committed to OSU after Jim Tressel lost his position and said that Ohio State needed somebody to show them that they were supported by people in the state still. That's how good of a Buckeye Devin Bogard is. He's one of the really key people who kept that class together back in the days of crisis that seems so far away now. That's for Rashard Frazier. People forget, too, he's kind of a unique character in his own right. He went to Purdue on scholarship, left Purdue, and came back to go to Ohio State as a walk-on. And I believe he actually got awarded a scholarship this last year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's finally back on scholarship after working his way through as a preferred walk-on after transferring. and he's played so well this year. So if he's hurt, that's another big blow on a D-line that's already taken some blows to its depth. Those are two guys you don't want to see lost, especially in a game like this where the game was just over. This wasn't a close game. Anytime you see guys down on the field when your team's up by 5 touchdowns or whatever it was, you just hate to see that more than almost anything else in football. So hopefully both of those injuries aren't as bad as they looked, but I don't have a good feeling on either one, I'm afraid.
Ohio State moved up one spot in the coaches poll. They're now 12th. Holding steady in the AP, did not move up in the AP. They're still 13th. Do you have an issue with this, Bax?
Yes, I have an issue with this. And on the other hand, no, I really don't, because polls are stupid at this point. The only poll that matters is from the committee. I'm just going to look at it like this. Virginia Tech was a putrid loss. It's going to go down as one of the worst losses, going back to maybe the Purdue game in 2009. And even then, that was excusable because it was an away game, to a certain extent at least. This is one of the worst losses in a long, long time at Ohio State. But the polls don't matter. I think anybody with 2 eyeballs who's watched the Ohio State game the last 4 weeks knows this team is absolutely on a roll right now. The defense has incrementally gotten better every week. This team that starts more underclassmen than upperclassmen has improved at light speed. And J.T. Barrett, make no mistake about this. We've discussed this on the Bucknuts 90. I've been talking about it every time I go on a radio interview somewhere around the state of Ohio. J.T. Barrett's a Heisman candidate. Plain and simple. The guy's averaging 5 touchdowns a game the last month. I don't know how much better you can do than that. So, you know what? Yes, I think Ohio State's better than the 12th or 13th team in the country. I think Ohio State's legitimately in the playoff discussion right now. But the bottom line of this is, when you come down to it, the polls mean jack this year because it's the committee that picks things, not the polls. And you have 4 spots you try to get into, not 2. Computers don't matter. Polls don't matter. You keep winning. You take care of your business. You finish 12-1. You beat Michigan State at Michigan State. You beat Minnesota at Minnesota. You win the Big Ten. You finish 12-1 with 11 straight wins. Then we'll talk about the polls mattering because you know what? If Ohio State does all that, they're going to be in the playoff, period.
Yeah, that's the thing, Bax. I think the fact that there's a selection committee really helps Ohio State. If this was just by computers, where a computer doesn't take into account that it was J.T. Barrett's second game, and things are different the second game of the season as compared to the middle point of the season or later in the season. But I think the selection committee will talk about that. They'll say, listen, yeah, Ohio State lost to Virginia Tech. It was the second week of the season. It was a different Ohio State team. They might look at the polls as a guide, but you're right, the polls don't really matter. Not that the AP poll mattered in the BCS anyway, but still, they might look at it as a guide. But I think the selection committee, just like basketball, if there's a big injury to a certain player, let's say Florida State finishes undefeated, but Jameis Winston's suspended. They might not have Florida State in there because they don't have Jameis Winston. So I think the fact that Ohio State lost to Virginia Tech early, if Ohio State's able to take care of business and finish 12-1, I'm on record that they're going to make it somehow. But like you said, 4 teams make it, not just 2. I think that selection committee will talk things out and get it in there if they're 12-1. All right, wrapping up the show. On the recruiting front, Bill Kurlick's What I'm Hearing column is already on the site for subscribers. Make sure you check that out. It's a must-read every Monday. This week includes items on Justin Hilliard, Luke Farrell, and which 2015 Ohio State commitments will graduate high school early and enroll at Ohio State in January. So make sure you check that out. If you're not a subscriber, try our 30-day free trial. Thanks very much to the People's Champ, Matt Baxendale. Thanks very much to all the listeners out there. I hope you all have a great day. Take it away, best damn band in the land.